Okay, this little thing for those of you who have an upright freezer. My freezer quit working on me because stuff was thawing out on me that shouldn't have been, and some stuff wouldn't freeze. Well, I found out if you look at this panel here, that bottom hole there where air is supposed to go through, that was totally plugged with ice. That little piece right there. Well, I started trying to thaw it out, and it wasn't thawing out real well, so what I wound up doing is I pulled the panel off. That involved 3 screws across the top, 3 screws across the bottom, and 1 on each side. The 2 on the side are a little longer, and the element there, that was clear, but if you look underneath, that is a solid chunk of ice in there. Totally blocking the airflow. These are supposed to be a frost-free. Yeah, right. Okay, so what I've done is I pulled that panel off. I've got this little heater unit right here, full chat, full power, and I've got it working on that ice. I've already tried on this ice to break it out without damaging the size of the fridge or the cooling fins on there, and that's taking a chance, so I quit on that. But I'm going to try and get that to break up a little. That's a solid chunk of ice. Once that melts, I'll let you see just how much was actually blocked on that. And just any of you who all of a sudden are slowly, your freezer quits working efficiently, that may be the problem, is that you've had an ice buildup and it's just stopping the airflow. I'll update you, or I'll give you a second part of this once I get that ice melted. Right now I've got all my perishables inside of an ice chest and I'm trying to keep them cold with ice. I've been working on this right now for about 3 hours, and hopefully I can break it up before I lose all my frozen goods. Give me an update or add to this video and once I get all that ice out of there. Thank you. Okay, next part here. I managed to run my heat long enough that I was able to break the ice up. You can see these chunks of ice here relative to my hand. They're not exactly small chunks, and they were right back in this whole area in here. And the problem I've got here, I'm going to see if I can get it to zoom in. The drain hole in there is still plugged. So I've got to figure out a way to get that unplugged, and then I can start this thing working again. But that's the issue, is the ice has built up badly and completely blocked the airflow. Now the fridge has been unplugged the whole time. There's no power to the fridge right now. I'm lighting it up with that little light right there. But the theory is if you look at this panel here, the air comes in through that hole, crosses over these coils, and then this fan here, which from our perspective spins counterclockwise, it pushes the air out after it's been cooled, pushes it up, and then blows it back into the freezer through these vents up on top. But, so what was happening, and is happening, is the air comes in, moisture condenses, and it's supposed to drip down and drain out through that little hole there. Well, that hole somehow is getting plugged up, and then you're getting an ice buildup, which is stopping the flow. So I'm going to try and figure out a way to make sure that that little drain plug there doesn't plug up. Once that's done, I won't have this backup issue. But as I said, if you have an issue where your freezer quits working for some reason, it's not cooling, that may be your problem. The drain plug has plugged, and you got this massive ice buildup underneath of the coils, or the condenser, whatever you want to call that piece. And you're not getting any airflow. I've still got a ways to go on this. I'm going to try and figure out a way to get that drain plug opened up and get everything dry so that I can get my stuff back in here and get it cold before I totally lose all my frozen goods. Thank you. Okay, next step here. There's the drain hole. And what I found is when I was pulling the ice out of there, this little white piece right there, this little guy, came up with the ice, and what was on top of that was a piece of plastic. So what had happened is somebody had put something in a paper or a plastic bag or something. It tore and floated down. This little piece goes in here like so to catch any debris but still allow it to drain. Well, I still had ice in that dang thing, and I took boiling hot water and poured it in there, and it took a couple of applications, but if you watch now, it's now draining like it's supposed to. It's empty. So now I just have to dry this out, get everything put back together. But that's what happened, is that little drain plug got plugged, and as a result, I had water standing, and eventually it froze, and I had huge chunks of ice under the coils here. One last step. I'm going to try and record as I put this thing back together. Thank you. Okay, first thing here, I've got it all back together. First thing, drain hole is clear, no longer blocked. I put the panel back on. You have 3 of these little screws on the top, 3 more on the bottom, and then 2 longer ones on the sides. You also look, there is a little rubber seal on each side here that runs down on both sides. Don't try to put that in after you've tightened the screws. The way I did it is I set the center screw on top first, very loosely. Then I laid the rubber seals in where they needed to be with a loose fit, and then I put the rest of the screws in. All I have left now to do is put in the racks. Okay, what's going on here? Back up a little bit. And what you want to do on these racks is there is a little rubber bushing type deal on them. Do not lose those bushings. You'll see here in just a second. Because they're what keeps the rack from sliding out on you. You put the bushing side in. Got to put them in the right spot here. The long side goes in here. Slide it back, and then this little rubber bushing snaps on here and here, and that keeps it from sliding out and falling on you. Same thing with the top rack, and as you saw there, they are 2 different sizes. I just found that out. And same thing. Rack in, long side to my right. Slide it in and slide it over a little bit and snap the bushings back in. Okay. I'm going to plug it back in, and now that I know why I had that ice buildup, I'll make sure every so often that I make sure that drain is clear. I'm going to plug it in right now. I don't have a fridge light right now. It burned out, so that's why I'm backing it up with a different light. Okay, here it turn on. Where are we at here? The red high temp warning is on right now, but I've got it set mid-scale at about a 4. Now that everything's working, that should be plenty cold enough. So that's what the deal was, is that drain had gotten plugged by a piece of plastic, and that water that got in there froze, and it just kept building up until I literally had a long block of ice under there no airflow. So again, if your freezer starts messing up on you, make sure that that drain plug is open, and make sure you haven't accidentally built an ice dam down below your cooling elements. Thank you for your time.